their pain point is, what their challenge is. And then I want to come up with some ideas. And I'll even say, look, the whole goal, one of my main goals for meeting with you is to really learn about your business, learn about where your struggles are, because we all have them. I have struggles, I have issues, you have struggles, you have issues. Let's talk about them. And I want to see how, if I can put something together and show you how we could sort of help you get through that, then I think, would that be a win for you? Would that help? Oh yeah, absolutely. Of course it would. So they're not expecting solutions. And I don't want to give it all away, right? And that first meeting, I want them to have a really good reason to meet with me again, right? So we'll set it up that way. And believe me, I've never had an agent say, I really don't want to talk about my issues. I don't want to talk about my They love talking about challenges. People like complaining. I mean, that's just human nature. It's annoying a little bit, but in this case, it sort of does serve us because we can sort of figure out how to solve their problems. So for me, obviously, number one goal, get a second meeting, determine challenges. And then I also think that, because I've had the same, now, show of hands, who's had the meeting where they know the realtor's a little bit short, they don't open up that much, and you feel like, hey, this may be the only crack I get. Like, we've all had those meetings. I think they're like, hey, I don't know, I may not get another opportunity, right? We've had those meetings, and then we've also had meetings where we think they go so well that we're going to be doing all this business with them, and then those are the ones that typically fall off the face of the earth. So if we have a reason to follow up, if we have a reason to set up that next meeting, and you want to say to them before the end of the meeting, like, look, I've taken some really good detailed notes, and I really think that we could help you with some of these things, but I also want to take a little bit of time and really, put together some solutions. And would you be opposed to maybe meeting in next week, maybe the following, just to go through some ideas that I have? And boom, you really want to pull out the calendar. You want to set it up at that point, right? And then, maybe it's bring them back. The idea is, if you're meeting at a coffee shop or you're meeting at their office, you want to bring them back. And if you have an office, right, and you're not working 100% remote, if you have an office, you want to bring them back to your office, like Nashville does, we do. That's really that's where we play our best game, is in our office. So we want to try to bring them into the office. And also too, if their challenge is, getting people qualified. If their challenge right now, I've heard realtors say they've got so many people that are wishy-washy. They're just not committed. They're fence sitters. They're not sure. Well, our Smart Start meeting is 100% geared around flushing out the people that are not all in, right? And also converting people that aren't sure if they want to buy, or if they're not sure if they can afford it, getting them across that bridge, or across, moving them from the dark side, right, to the point where, like, oh, this could work. This, get them to the point where they're excited about buying. So if you can bring them to the office, show them how we present the Smart Start and how we create buyers that are committed, right? Because realtors have the same problems we have. They got, they'll complain about it, right? I mean, who's heard it from realtors this week? Like, oh my gosh, they're not, Billy and Sally, they're not, I can't get them on the phone. They were excited. Now I can't get them on the phone. I mean, we have the same issues they have, right? So I think that trying to get that second meeting is huge. And then also too, just depending on how the meeting goes, I don't think it's a bad idea also too, especially if you feel like, well, maybe there's an opportunity to meet again. They may not give you another chance. I mean, just depending on how it goes, and I think you can read it, is ask them, is there anybody that you're working with right now that I might be able to speak with, offer a second opinion, or perhaps help? When you're asking really for business, and I don't think it's too presumptuous to do that, and I think you have to read the situation. I don't think it necessarily is appropriate in all situations, but I think the key to working with an agent is is if you can work on a deal together or work on a tough situation or work on a referral, you're going to be in communication with that agent for a while, at least, maybe it's a few weeks, right? As you're working this client or this prospect. So I think that's key. If they can see how you help somebody, if they can see how you, calm the nerves of a buyer, overcome, maybe somebody that they got declined, right? I remember a situation, this is about a year ago, where I met with a realtor, first realtor meeting. She said, look, actually, I just had somebody that is fed up with their lender. They're frustrated. We can't get across the finish line the way they wanted. Would you mind talking to them? Absolutely not. Fast forward, we ended up doing a great job for them. Wasn't really that tricky of a loan. I just think that they had a lender that didn't really know the business that well. We ended up closing that, and she thought we were just, she thought we hung the moon, right? I mean, so if you, and we're still doing business with that person now, a year later. So I think if you can try to get a client that you can work on together, that's huge. So what do you do if you can't set the first meeting or the second meeting, I'm sorry, for whatever reason, right? Doesn't work, or they blow you off. They're like, hey, look, let me think about it. Or, hey, let me get to my calendar, call me back. I mean, we've all had those as well. I think the key is, invitations. We also talk about, like, hey, what do we say to the agents, right? We're supposed to call them every week or two. Like, we keep saying the same thing over and over and over. We've talked about that at our branch, right? A lot. And I think a lot of you had mentioned really good things, like you're doing events, you're doing training events, you're doing like these bowling activities or trick-or-treating activities. These are really good things, because if you can call your agents and invite them to something, right? Versus calling an agent saying, hey, do you have anybody, you have a referral for me? I mean, obviously you wouldn't put it that way, but you're calling for a different reason. Or, hey, I'm putting on a lunch and learn on a new investment property product, which doesn't require any employment or any income. I'd love for you to hop on that. Maybe we can get a couple of extra deals closed this year, right? So the power of the invitation is huge. And the only thing I would say is, with that, you have to have something to invite them to, right? So, for the Keller Home Loans folks, I mean, you have a very robust training program. There's a ton of stuff that you could do. But even if you're not, right, I mean, we do lunch and learns usually every 60 days, and it's a different reason to call a realtor, right? So you've got to somehow create some traction, right? So what other things, like other follow-up tools? I mean, I think obviously, like with the handwritten thank you note, that goes without saying. You have the meeting, you write the note, probably expected, but it's still worth doing. It'll set yourself apart from others. Not everybody's doing it, right? So don't forget the notes. I know they're easy to overlook, but it does make a difference, right? Make sure you're getting the realtor's mailing address. It may not be their office if they don't go to the office all the time. So what are other follow-up techniques that you guys have used that helps create traction?
Hey,
Mike.
Mike.
This is Sam. Real quick, Mike. I was just going to say exactly what you were saying. Just invite them to something. But I think if you can pick out something in their personality in that first meeting, like a hobby that they do, or whether it's they play men's league softball or pickleball or something random, golf, something like that, where you can pinpoint it and make a note of it in the meeting. And then if it's hard to follow up that second time, invite them to play golf or something like that.
Right. Yep. Go deep on the questions, right? We've talked about this, so it's been a while, but sort of that 4 questions deep, right? You ask them a question, you listen, you observe, go deeper on that question to try to get to know them on a deeper level. So I think that's important for sure. Sam, you were going to say something.
one thought I just had is like if they serve on any like boards or like
Yep.
do any charity work, that would be a
Right.
great thing to kind of follow up with, or you know,
Yep.
say that you want to come to their next event or support or whatever, you know,
Yeah,
you want
exactly.
to.
Right. Because again, they're trying to recruit people for their events or for their charities or for their board, whatever, for you to go there and support them is big. Sam, you were going to say something.
You said something that for Keller, we have a robust training program.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that you know that you guys, every one of you has access to any and every one of those classes that's on that flyer in a non-Keller format.
Got it. Yep.
Okay. Because leading
Cool.
with education is a really awesome, organic, right, Mike? If you and I have a meeting,
Yeah.
and you teach me something, and you don't even ask for business, like you've
Right.
impressed upon me. Holy crap, this
Yep.
dude knows what he's talking about. He's a subject matter expert. It's just a
Right.
real organic. So, do you
Yep.
have that flyer? I'm sure you do.
I do.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. And also too, like the DSCR, we did a training on that a few months back. I mean, it was really well attended because they see a way, like, realtors are like, hey, where are my next closings coming from? Right? Closings are paychecks. Paychecks feed the family, right? It's about the closings. It's about their production. It's about their volume. If you can show realtors how to get more closings out of the market that we're in right now, then that's huge, right? So, and I think somebody also said Zillow, like, like sometimes they'll meet with you because they'll pitch you on like, oh, hey, I'm looking for you to contribute $500 a month for my Realtor.com leads or Zillow leads. I think we've all been approached with that, and what I'll tell them is I'll say, listen, um, my suggestion is let's make sure we're a fit first. Let's do a deal or two together first. Let's just make sure that we we align and um, sort of our business goals align, and let's make sure we enjoy working together. You know, give me an opportunity. Let's see how we do, and then we can revisit that. So, that usually goes one of two different ways, right? So that's sort of a way to put that off. 'Cause I'm not really interested in that necessarily, chasing internet leads.
Hey, Sam, really quick, it's Natalie. About the education classes that Chelsea put together, which is an amazing list. When and where and how will they be accessible?
I'm confused, which is not hard to do. What do you mean
So
that they're accessible always?
where?
When you say that, like you want to have the her calendar is always accessible.
Okay, for her to teach it.
For now, yeah, we're working on the become the teacher piece of things.
Okay, great. She had said a couple weeks ago she was working on the become the teacher piece of it, which
Yeah.
is great because I think everybody needs to be educated on what they're educating.
Yes.
I was just wondering if there was a timeline on that to be able to then have access to the great classes she put together.
I love you. I'll follow up on it.
Thanks.
Yep.
Because right now Chelsea teaches those, right, Sam?
That is correct, but we are working on a teach the teacher because that's important for all the reasons that Natalie and Matthew just brought up.
Yeah, absolutely. So what other ideas or tactics, or what have you guys done to try to get that next appointment? I mean, I think the key is you have to set up that first meeting to get the second. I mean, you can't go in there and just give it all away, right? Because again, the first meeting really should be about them. I think if you get anything out of this call, it should be the first meeting is about them learning their challenges, learning their issues. Because if you can help them overcome some of those challenges, right? And no matter what they say, Doesn't matter what their challenge is. And it's usually one of four things. No matter what they say, we usually have something that can help, correct? I mean, whether it's our process, whether it's a product, whether it's, our communication, our updates, we have something that will help them, correct? And then also too, in those meetings, I like to find out the hot buttons, right? What are your must-haves? What do you absolutely must have from your lender? It's important to know that. And then also, if you don't know who they're using, ask them, right? Or ask them, what are your challenges with lending right now? You ask them, what are your challenges in the market? And then you ask them, what are your challenges with lending? Indirectly saying, hey, what kind of problems have you had with loans? And they'll tell you, right? They'll tell you exactly what they're dealing with. And that's going to shed some light on maybe some opportunities that you might have. So I think that first meeting is all about questions. And whoever's asking questions is in control, right? And you want to be in control of the meeting. I've been at meetings, you've had them, right? Where you sit down and like, all right, hey, what you got? It's like, all right, hey, tell me about, what do you guys have? And they're like, real short. They just want to hear about what we have. Not a great way to start a meeting, but we've all had them, right? And then trying to turn that a little bit and say, hey, absolutely no, we'll certainly get into that. Just want to ask you a couple of quick questions, and then you just sort of have to turn it back on them. Any other ideas about how, because you have the ability to set the tone of the meeting. And I think if you really are intentional about trying to get that second meeting, I think that's half the battle. It really is. Any other tactics or any ideas about how to get some traction during that first meeting or after?
Michael, I'm doing with one agent. I've met with her once. I knew her through college, so it was easy to set the first meeting. So I could just show her Smart Start right away. But to set up the second meeting, we've decided to do a home buyers education class together.
Yeah.
And that, I think that helps build trust with her because we both have a bunch of friends in the same circle. We can get a lot of people to turn out for it.
Yep. No, that's perfect. That's better than a second meeting. You got, she's basically saying, let's do deals together, right?
Right.
Yeah, realtors need help with things. Realtors, don't be intimidated by realtors, right? They need help. Some are super organized. Parker, some, right? Super organized, super sharp, just on top of it, aka Marissa, right? But they're the Marissas of the world are few and far between. A lot of realtors need help. They're not good business people in general. They're scattered. So I think a lot of times it could be, there's a lot of different things you could do. It could be helping realtors with their business structure, right? Helping them with their goals. So, Brenda and I and Benton, we're putting together sort of a like a 90-day, really it's sort of a goal, a business planning session and goal planning where every 90 days it's going to be reviewed. So that's going to be pretty cool to have consistent feedback and consistent communication with agents, right? And also help them grow their business. Just think about it. If you help them grow their business, they're going to have a loyalty and allegiance to you, right? For sure. And I even look at some realtors I've been working with for 5 or 6 years, and I look back at it and I say, gosh, if I spent more time with them on their business and helping them grow their business, it would have helped my business, right? So that's something that I'm really looking to do this coming, like this quarter, for business planning 2024 with some of my agents.
Yeah.
That know they need it. It's nice to be on a personal level with some agents and be like, hey, Darren, dude, you need help. Dude, you can't do everything yourself. Like we've got to really look at some key areas where you can delegate. Like you can't do all of this. So I think they just keep in mind they need help.
This is a little teaser. I'm sharing my screen, but it's going to be called Vision Planning Accountability. So it's like 17 pages. It's cool.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. And again, we want to work with agents that are serious about their business and want to grow it, right? Versus the part-time agent that's just going to do a deal here and there that has no real motivation or need to grow their business. I mean, look, we'll take those referrals, right? We're not going to turn them down. They'll be on our distribution list for our invites and stuff. But, really to build those channel accounts, people that are sending you 8, 9, 10, 12 deals a year, they're going to be needing to do some volume. So that VPA is going to be huge just to help them. So anytime we can help an agent get better at something, they'll remember, right? So yeah, I mean, I think those are some really good ideas. But again, I think takeaways. Your goal of the first meeting is to get a second, and if you have that in your mind, then it's going to be easier to get traction. Now, looking at like numbers, I probably do business with 1 out of 3 agents that I meet, just off the cuff, right? Just sort of a rough idea. For whatever reason, maybe we don't click. Maybe I feel like, I just don't, that's not the kind of business I want. The nice thing is we've got some technology. We can figure out what kind of business they're doing, right? We know the volume, we know the units, we know what lenders they're using. So you could use some of that data to try to really be strategic on who you're meeting. 4, 5, 6 years ago, we were just meeting anybody, right? Just, or you can go on Zillow and sort of see how many deals they were doing, but we would meet anybody. So I think now with technology, you can really get very laser focused on who you want to meet, right? So those are just some ideas, some tips. Any final thoughts?
Hey, Michael, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Let's say you have the first coffee meeting, you have the follow-up Smart Start meeting in your office, and it goes well. The agent is doing business. It's not like they're, they haven't referred you, but they're doing business type of thing.
Yeah.
Because you can check the numbers and you just kind of know. How long, like, what's the leash after that? Let's say you invite them, kind of do all the stuff we talked about. What is the timeline for you where you're like, all right, I'm going to give it, 90 days or whatever it is, and then I'm going to try X, Y, and Z. And then if that doesn't work out, I'll move on, but still keep them on my list, and invite them to stuff and kind of just, but you're not focusing.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think if you had the first meeting, you have the second meeting in your office, you do the Smart Start. What I would do at that point before that second meeting is over, right? Just ask them, say, look, you could sort of see you can see exactly how we would interact with your clients. Could you see value in this? Can you see how this could help really get your clients from sort of wanting to buy to really all in, committed and ready to roll? Could you see how that could help? And ideally they're going to say, yeah, I mean, that's really cool. Some of my lenders, I don't even think they meet with them. And then you would go back and say, this is what I would say. Because if this is your second meeting, this is your chance to ask for the business and close it at that point. I wouldn't let it go any further past that. I would say, listen, I tell you what, until we do a deal together, we don't really know. So let me ask you this. I would have a specific request. Send me your next client exclusively, right? I know you work with other lenders. I get it. But just send me your next client, your next referral. Send it exclusively to me. Connect us, via 3-way email or three-way text. Let me work with them so you can see exactly how the process goes, with me and my team. And I think after that, after we get one, client in the pipeline and work together, I think then you'll have a better idea if we're a fit to work together in the future. Would you be opposed to that?
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, you want to ask for the deal and you want to ask for it exclusively. They're sending it to you plus 3 lenders, or they're sending you the deal that's got turned down. That's not a real fair assessment. So you just say, look, your next referral, and you could even say, hey, you know, maybe it's a first-time home buyer. Your next first-time home buyer, you know, refer them to me exclusively. Let's work on this one prospect together. And I promise you, once we go to closing, we're going to do a lot more deals together. I just know it. But until we work together, you're not going to know. Fair enough. Now, if they say, yeah, sure, that sounds great, and you just don't get any traction, I think to answer your question, Andy, I think, you know, I'm typically inviting, making calls, things like that. I mean, for usually 3 months. Usually it's about a 90-day period. If I get 0 traction, 0 responses, you know, no callbacks, you know, typically I'll put them on like my Realtor distribution list, which would invite them to like lunch and learns or training events, those kind of things. But usually I'll move on.
Michael, what if you have a really great first meeting and then they just kind of inexplicitly go cold on you? Does that ever happen?
Yeah, it happens. I mean, it happens a third of the time. I mean, that's just what happens, right? And I think if you set that meeting up the right way, and you set up to have that second, you're just calling to set the appointment to get the second meeting, right? And again, same thing. You know, all you could do is call. You can invite. You could offer to help. You know, do all of the tactics that we're talking about. If you're getting 0 traction, 0 return calls, I mean, there's not a lot you can do except for move on to the next, because there's plenty of fish in the sea, right?
Mhm.
And not everybody's going to be, you know, not everybody's going to work with us. So
Cool.
that's
Thank you.
you know, that's the key. But I think if we do a better job and have more intention on that first meeting and trying to really get what you want to get out of it, I think your results will be better, even if it's, you know, 25% better, right? That means that 1 out of 4 of those meetings is going to turn into a realtor that you probably will continue to work with. So just 25% better moves the needle quite a bit.
I have some input there. So, on a personal basis, I always want to come from a place of contribution to an agent.
Yep.
So, when I meet with them, obviously, in my community, VA loans are high. We also do every other product, right? So, for my meetings, I have the first time homebuyer guides with me. I have them for the VA and I have them for regular first time homebuyers. And I asked them if this would be something that would obviously help them with their meetings with buyers, and it does. So I give them my information with that flyer. They don't even know it. And
Good.
generally, I will get feedback from that and I'll follow back up because it's a reason for me to follow up. And I will ask them, did that work for you? And most of the time it is. It's education for them. It's something that they don't have to put together. A lot of my agents already have buyer's guides or seller's guides.
Right.
And I just make sure that they have some extra key items that they can, you know, provide to their buyers.
Got it. No, that's great. And what does that buyer's guide look like? Is it like a 3 or 4 page, just, you know, the steps on getting, you know, for a first time home buyer getting approved? And what does that look like?
So it has different reasons, different things in there. Obviously, what a pre-approval is worthy of, what the process looks like, just anything in general. I got it from marketing. I asked one day
Yeah.
if they had that, and they just sent it to me. So,
Cool. So it's probably already in Total Expert.
so I don't see it in Total Expert. It is several pages, but I can send it to you. And if anyone has Canva, you can just change it.
Yeah. Can you send it to Benton, Tanya?
Yes. Yeah,
And then
I'll do that.
Benton can send it
Cool.
out. That'd be awesome.
Thank you, Tanya.
And I
You're
will
welcome.
say it's great. Like, I think that's a great approach. And I will say, like, if I feel like I have a realtor meeting that it's my last crack, this is it, I have a feeling that I probably won't get a second meeting. You know, I may give them something, you know, to hang on to, or to, you know, to look over, or maybe something to use for their clients. But yeah, no, that's good stuff for sure. Awesome. Well, it's 12/8 or 10/18, 12/18. We're not there yet. Hopefully you could pick out a couple good nuggets, just one or two little things. Try that on your next realtor meeting. Just try to have a little bit more intention, have more intention behind it about what you want to try to accomplish in the meeting. You only have so many of these meetings a week and a month, right? So really try to get the most you can out of them. I think it's important. Everybody's got phones. Everybody's got mobile calendars. There's no reason for you to say, well, I'll follow up with you later. We'll set something up. Set it up right then, right? That's huge. So try a couple of these things, and then maybe what we'll do, Benton, keep it, maybe like in 30 days, we'll do a little follow-up check-in on this, see if a couple of these things have worked, or what has worked, right? What are a couple of things that, over the next month, what has worked for you?
Cool.
How's that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Awesome. Ladies, gents, good to see everybody. Thanks for
Thank
jumping
you.
on. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Michael.
This was incredibly helpful.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you found it helpful. Ladies, come back from Texas. Love to have you.
Absolutely. We'll
All right.
represent.
Hey. All right.
Thank
Go
you.
Buckeyes. Let's go, Sam. Let's represent.
You got it.
All right. Have a good
Jeff
night.
Orell got off with the sign stealing. I was going to make a comment.
I
Bye, guys.
hit on that earlier.
Have a good weekend.
Don't
Enjoy
worry.
the game.
Good, good.
Bye.